welcome to the King's Corner Sports Podcast. I hope we all are having a wonderful day, morning, afternoon, night, whenever you can get to this video. I know it's been a while since I've done a video, and as you can see, there's a little bit of a reason for that. I've officially moved where I do my podcast. Before I was doing it in my garage. Now I've moved it up to my bedroom, and I'm kind of glad because now it's warmer. I don't have to go as far to do it, so I'm able to prepare a little more up here. I love that I'm now just 3 easy steps right to the podcast. I can do it whenever I want, however I want. But yeah, so first let me do a quick recap of what I've missed. And it's pretty much just the Super Bowl because that kind of hurt not being able to recap that, but now I will. First, holy cow. A 43-year-old Tom Brady just beat the NFL's golden child, Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes, I hope you know that you can no longer become the greatest quarterback of all time. Because every single time someone says you are, I will always remember Super Bowl 55 where a 43-year-old Tom Brady shellacked you. And before I hear somebody say, oh, are you saying that Eli Manning's better than Tom Brady because he beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl? Or are you saying Nick Foles is better than Tom Brady because he beat him in the Super Bowl? No. There's a difference. There's a big difference. And if you're wondering what that difference is, let me say it. The difference is in those games, Brady was in those games and was competitive in those games. He only lost all those games by a combined score of 15. 15. You know, he beat Pat Mahomes by what was it, 21? I mean, holy cow. You think I'm going to remember that? Look, Brady played amazing in all 3 of those Super Bowls that he lost. He played good enough to win. He was up 14-10 when they lost to the Giants the first time. He was up 17-14 when they were up in the second Super Bowl. And then in the Eagles Super Bowl, he threw for 505 yards, but Belichick couldn't stop a nosebleed that day. So I don't want to hear that Brady isn't good as those quarterbacks because he outplayed him in all of those Super Bowls except Eli. Eli outplayed him in the second Super Bowl. Not the first one, the second one he did. And then let me move on to Mahomes. I'm not blaming Mahomes for that loss. I'm not. Now, did Mahomes could have played better? Yes. But let me also acknowledge the obvious fact. What Mahomes was going through was what Carson Wentz was going through all year. No O-line, was running for his life. And if you do the averages of Carson Wentz's 13 games that he played this year, and then you put Mahomes' Super Bowl next to it, him and Wentz were pretty much identical down the line. Barely above 50% completion percentage, picks all over the place, and you could tell when a quarterback's getting hit over and over again, you're going to notice that the mechanics of the quarterback start to diminish because they're losing confidence in the people up front. When it comes to that, Mahomes, you could tell, I believe it was, I went back and I watched it was mid-second quarter. He got shellacked by one of those Buccaneers D linemen, and he got up and he was wincing. He was wincing. He didn't want to, he was trying to walk it off, but you could tell it rang a bell. It rang a bell. But, that's pretty much what I missed in Super Bowl. This is what I really wanted this whole video to be about. And this is the main part. And as you can tell, I'm an Eagles fan, but this hurts to say. The Eagles are about to become the new Browns, Jets, Jaguars, whatever you want to call it. They're about to join the bad of the bad. And the reason is that they fired their Super Bowl head coach. Why? I know, I made a video about that, and I sounded like I maybe agreed with it, but I was wrong. Let me just go through these numbers. Oh, and also this is the best thing about having a new podcast in my room. I now get to use this beautiful laptop, so it helps me out with my stats. But they fired Peterson, right? He is the only coach to win a Super Bowl, and not to mention he won that game with a backup quarterback. Okay, but that's just 1 year, right? He made the playoffs in his stretch 3 out of 5 years. Holy, I couldn't remember the last time I was this happy watching the Eagles. I mean, he had the best playoff stretch the Eagles have had since 2000 to 2004 with Vic. Oh, actually, my bad. It was 99 to 2004 with McNabb and Reed. But then let me go on. in his 5 years, he compiled a record of 42, 39, and 1. And I know that doesn't sound great, but you also got to remember what he was dealing with in those times. A quarterback that couldn't stay healthy 2 out of those 3 years in the playoffs. Then he had to deal with injuries all over the place. In 2018, the secondary was atrocious. I mean, they couldn't stay healthy to save their life. Ronald Darby went down. Avonte Maddox stepped in as a rookie, but then you had to see an emergence of Crevion LeBlanc. And if you remember that season, you'll recall that Saints game in the playoffs where even though the game was close, Drew Brees was able to get anything he wanted at any point in that ball game. And that's because that secondary was demolished. And then we'll move on to 2019. And yes, it was again a 9-7 season, and you're like, all right, one game above 500. But he was also without his top 3 receivers. His offensive lineman was in and out some weeks. They stayed healthy for the most part, but Lane Johnson missed the last 4 weeks. And the only reason they made the playoffs that year is because Peterson and Wentz were like that. It was working. Then let's add in the playoff record. He was 4-2. Whoop-de-doo, he was 4-2. He won 4 playoff games for the Philadelphia Eagles. Thank you. Why fire him? I don't know. And before, Troy Aikman said that he was fired because he wanted Hurts over Wentz. Well, as we have learned here in the last month or two, that was absolutely false. The reason Peterson was fired was because he wanted Wentz over Hurts. He wanted to keep Wentz, and then they were like, do we really want to? Because Howie was afraid of his power. That's the real reason Doug Peterson was fired. Because Howie Roseman was afraid Doug Peterson was about to do to him what Chip Kelly did. Put him away in the closet that he deserves to be put in. But let's move off of Doug Peterson. Let's move on to the Eagles are now trading Carson Wentz. And I know, some of you are rolling your eyes. Goodness gracious, here he goes about Carson Wentz again. But let me just give you some numbers. Even after this bad season last year, Wentz still has the 11th best touchdown to interception ratio in league history with 113 touchdowns and 50 INTs. That's not bad. That's actually terrific. And I know last year he was 16 touchdowns, 15 picks, 2,914 yards. But also, let's remember what he was working with. He was throwing to me and a flag out there at receiver, and he was being blocked by trash cans. He was running for his life. Everybody wants to make this defense of what Mahomes was doing in the Super Bowl and like, oh my goodness gracious, he was running for his life. That's what Eagles quarterbacks were going through all 16 weeks. And I know what you're saying. Carson Wentz is all stats, right? Let's move on then. Let's take out his best season, 2017, his worst season, 2020. And let's put his averages together. He averages on an average season, 21 touchdowns, 9 picks. That's actually a pretty good ratio. Most quarterbacks average about 11 to 12 picks a season. He averages 9. And then when you put his record, he's slightly near 50% on his win percentage. But when he has healthy pieces around him that are consistent, that win percentage jumps up all the way to 65%. Because every quarterback is just as good as his supporting cast, unless your name's Aaron Rodgers. But Wentz was able, when he has talent around him, to play his style of game. And as you could tell this last season, his mechanics got horrible. They went horrible. His mechanics were, never want to see those mechanics again. But you can kind of tell why. And this happens with all quarterbacks, as I said earlier. When a quarterback is pressured, their mechanics fall off. They always have, they always will. And as you could tell in that Washington game, Wentz's mechanics at the beginning of the game, they weren't the best, but they were better than what they were in the season because he started that game 14-16 for 100, I believe it was 52 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And then in that second quarter, he got hit 6 times and got sacked 3 times. Blew his confidence. And then his mechanics went off. He couldn't make outside the numbers throws. It was just messing up. But let me move on to what I think is the biggest mistake of the Eagles so far. And it's not trading Wentz because let me be honest, I think we need to trade him. He needs to change the scenery. He needs to get out of Philly. When it comes to Doug Peterson, I wish we could have kept him. I think we should have kept him. But I do like some things about Nick Sirianni. But the thing that is frustrating me the most with the Eagles right now, Howie Roseman is messing this all up. All he had to do was accept the 2 second-round picks, and if he wants a first-round pick from the Colts, put in Zach Ertz. It's not that hard. And I've been hearing some rumor trades that I've been hearing that the Eagles are probably going to end up doing. Carson Wentz, Zach Ertz, and a conditional 5th to the Colts for a first, a third, and a conditional fourth. That's the trade I keep hearing. It might happen, it might not, I don't know. But that's something I've heard from some of my sources. But let me also say this. If they do trade Wentz, what are they doing? Why draft another quarterback? You have one of the best young quarterbacks in the game in Jalen Hurts. And I know, I've been kind of harsh on Hurts. But I went back and I watched the film, and let me be honest with what I saw. He has potential to be he doesn't have potential to be a top 10 quarterback, no. But he can be a middle-of-the-pack quarterback. He can be Dak Prescott. He can be Dak Prescott. You put pieces around him, he can be Dak Prescott. He's just as mobile as Dak, and he's just as accurate as Dak when he has time. And that's with every quarterback. When you give a quarterback time, he's accurate. But why are we looking to draft another quarterback, especially Justin Fields? I wouldn't touch Justin Fields with a 2-foot pole. Don't want anything to do with him. You know why? He's from Ohio State. Ohio State quarterbacks do not work in the NFL. Howie Roseman, if he's running this team for the next 10 to 15 years, I'm sorry, Eagles fans. This hurts to say, but we're in for a long 10 to 15 years. This next decade and a half is going to be bad. Thank you for watching this episode of King's Corner. Hope you all are having a wonderful day, morning, afternoon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.